stay fly.
Probably the worst experience that I had as a parent, because what ends up happening is you feel helpless. There's absolutely nothing you can do. Like, there's nothing you can do. You can't, like, nothing. Like, you wish you could transfer the pain. You wish you could, like, fast forward the chemo, on and on. But there's a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nights that I cried. Even though the diagnosis was very positive, the doctors were like,
stay fly. You're listening to The Fly Guy Show. They do everything on the fly and in such a fly manner. Stay fly, stay fly, stay fly.
After all that party. The views expressed on The Fly Guy Podcast by the guests of The Fly Guy Podcast are only the views of the guests, unless we say we agree, unless explicitly stated.
Hey, this is Ernie Thomas here on the Bold School Podcast. You're listening to Psycho Varner's Fly Guy Podcast. Support, like, subscribe, and share. He's saying some good things. Share it. Don't keep it to yourself.
2, 1. It's your man DJ Psycho Varner with another great episode of the Fly Guys Podcast. I have my man Dan Trez on me. I have Crumb Snatcher in the house. Peace, brethren. How you guys doing?
Peace. I'm good.
That's good stuff. Wait, let's jump right into the topic. Back in the day, I used to have a show called Daddy Man. It was Daddy Man Radio. Let me show you exactly what it used to look like. It was on YouTube. And on Daddy Man Radio, we had about 10 episodes, 12 episodes, this is to be exact. And we asked 3 questions. Describe 3 times in your fatherhood experience that were challenging and 3 times in your fatherhood experience that were joyous. And so we're going to kind of slow it down and bring it down to 2. So, I'd like to know about 2 times in your fatherhood experience that were challenging and 2 times in your fatherhood experience that were joyous. And we'll start with Dan Trez, then we'll go to Crumb Snatcher. And I want to say that today is a special day for me. June 9th, 19 years ago is the day I became a father. So this is my personal Father's Day. I want to take all the joy I can. I'll even share it with my wife. It was a shared experience. Share it with my son. It was a shared experience. But 19 years ago today. And then interestingly enough, 10 years ago, not necessarily on this day, but in this time period, is when my father became an ancestor. So he's been an ancestor for me almost 10 years now. So it's a really interesting time. So, Dan Trez, man.
Can I say something real quick? I remember when me, you, Rhonda, and Yatunde went to the Miller Family March. Right. And Akeem was in a carriage. He was pushing around in a carriage. I remember that. And Yatunde was just found out she was pregnant.
Right.
Today. So yeah, I remember that vividly. I remember that like it was yesterday. That was back in 2000. Wow. So yeah. So yeah. So you want me to start with the bad or the good?
Whichever you decide to start with, man.
I'm going to continue with the positive energy. So just recently, about a week ago, my daughter graduated from high school. I only have 1 girl, so and I have 3 boys. So she's my only girl. So it was just great to see. She graduated with honors with distinction, and she got a full ride to Skidmore College up in New York. So it's just super. That's like one of the proudest moments of my life to see her do that. And just she's a woman. So I think any parent want to see that. The other time was when my oldest graduated from high school, and that was back in 2012 out in Virginia Beach, and we all went there. And the reason why I was is because my family is spread around the country, my siblings and my mom, so it's very rare that we're all under the same roof together. And that was 1 week when we were all under the same roof together. So it was just good to see, just being around my entire family, my moms and my siblings, and then my wife and my kids. It was just a really dope moment. So those are the 2 best, right as of right now. I know there's going to be some more, but those are the 2 best. So,
right. Yo, Crumb, what are your 2 best fatherhood experiences?
Okay. Well, the reason that's hard is because there's been so many positive experiences. And for me as a father, I've taken a lot from my father. So I'd have to say, in terms of a fatherhood experience, it wasn't me as the father, but my father. he's transitioned as well. Rest in power. So one time he was teaching me to play chess. And, my father wasn't a chess guru, but he did something that humbled me and changed my life forever. So he took me to another man who, my father took me as far as he could. And then at that point, he took me to another man, and that man taught me how to play chess as well. And, my father was right there beside me. And what he was telling me while the other man was teaching me is that he is not my only father. He said, I may be your only blood father, but throughout your life, you will have many father figures. And I think that is what has changed my life, and it's made me look at the idea of being a father, in some regards, keeping it humble, just putting it out there. You've been a father figure to me. And had not my father set me up for that, I wouldn't have looked at other men in the way he taught me to look at them. And that's the same thing I tell my son. I pray that I'm not the only positive male figure in your life that gives you something. I hope that you can take something from every man who seeks to empower, improve, or to put something into you. And for me, for my son, we've been better men because we were open, not just to me being a father or my father being a father, but taking that from every man in my life. I see, this one guy I was working with, well dressed. He said, on time is late, 15 minutes early is on time. And now at that point in time, I saw my father in that man. Anytime a man comes into my life and to give me something positive, my father is there. And I'll never forget that experience the day he taught me how to play chess. And in terms of that paternal energy, every single time I interact with men or my son, it's just always there to where I'm looking, and I always have it in the front of my mind. I'm going to take something, especially from the older men in my life or even in my son's life. We always take something positive from all the brothers, so it's not just my father or me being a father. It's what all melanated, no, it doesn't have to be melanated, all mature men I come across, even, you and Dan. Even, because I thought your cousin was going to be up here. But, anybody in my life, I've always, male, of course, I've always taken that from, and that's kind of really set me on the path to be humble in being a father and to be humble to allow other men to be that father figure in my life and in my son's life as well.
Cool. What's the second joyous fatherhood experience you've had?
Well, I can't help but to dote on my babies. I can't help but to dote on my babies. So, my oldest son, I was pushing him one day. I was pushing that boy, and he broke down and started crying. And I said, okay, I've pushed him too far. I'm going to let up. So I said, you know what? Whatever it is I was trying to convey to him, to pull out of him, you're not going to get it right now. Just whatever. We'll come back to it. So my son says to me, he's like, nah, I'm crying right now. I'm hurt right now, but I'm going to push through this thing, and we're going to get this thing one way or another. And on that day, I was like, the boy was 8. Jeez Louise, that's the man in him.
Wow.
That's a man at 8 years old crying. Brother, when I was 8 and my father pushed me to the limit and I broke, listen, let me go. I need to take a breather. My son was like, nah, I'm good. I'm pushing through. And I said to myself, that's a man's man. But that boy made me proud that day.
Wow. Man, it is good watching our children accomplish things and push through some things. I'm going to jump in and give my 2 joyous moments. And interestingly enough, one of my joyous moments kind of mimics yours, Crumb. And I used to go to a barber. I know I've said this story. I know you've heard it probably. Dan, you probably heard the story as well. But my father used to take me to this barber, and I used to like going because they had comic books. So, my parents didn't buy me comic books till later on, when I was able to buy them myself. So I would go there and I would read all these comic books, right? And I guess my time in high school, I started kind of pulling away from my parents. You know how you are in high school? But I would go to the barber shop, and it was wild that everything I was, you good? You good? All right. Everything I was struggling with, the barber and all the guys in the barber shop would talk to me about. And I used to go there and get some great information, great knowledge. And it's really similar to what you were saying, because later on when I was in college and I came back home to get a haircut, and my parents had actually moved out the area, the barber said, man, I miss seeing you, and I miss hearing from your father. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, your father would call and tell us everything that you were dealing with, and that's how we knew to chop it up with you. And so, my father didn't specifically say, you're going to find other fathers in your life, you need to follow them. He surrounded me with a community of fathers and did it, in a way when I wasn't trying to hear nothing he had to say. I heard everything he needed to say because it went through other men, So, I want to give salutes to my father for that. And once I realized that was one of the most joyous times in my fatherhood experience. And then the second time was really recent. My son is a student studying physics. And so he was on campus. We got there early, and I was able to set up an internship with the director of students, the dean of students. So he worked for 2 months under the dean of students in the summertime before he started his freshman year.
Oh, wow.
During that time, he was able to meet with all the faculty members, not all, but many of them, and he didn't like some things on his schedule. He said, Dad, I had this class already. I did well in high school. Why are they forcing me to take this class again? And I'm like, son, that's the way they do things in college, but you're on campus every day. You handle it. He went to the professors. He went to the deans of the department. He negotiated. He actually had them come up with a contract. Well, they gave him a contract, and the contract said, if you fail this class, you can't fault us, and we're going to put you in a higher class. So the class that he wanted to skip, he was able to pull and get full credit for his high school experience. He signed a contract with them. They were so impressed that when a professor received a grant, they hired him his freshman year.
Oh, wow.
So now, not only is he a student, but he's an employee of the university. They took some of the reports that he did, they sent it off to the grantor. The grantor was so impressed that they published it. So as a freshman, he has 2 published reports. Those published reports were reviewed, and then the grantor brought him to Colorado. He spoke at a professional physics conference as a freshman in high school.
Wow.
A freshman in college. And then they were so impressed. Here's the last part of it. About a week ago, we put him on a plane. He's in Colorado now doing research for the University of Colorado at Denver. He just received his first check. They're paying him $5,000 for being there for the summer. Man, so his experience to be able to first negotiate his way and to say, I'm not going to accept what you're giving me when I know I can get better, led him to all of these beautiful things. I mean, that's
dope, man. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
I don't expect any less, though.
Yeah. All right, I'll take that. It's my Father's Day. I'll take that. But Dan Trez, what are some of the most challenging experiences? And we don't have to limit it to 2.
I just want to say
fatherhood experiences.
I just want to say real quick, Sekou, that I'm thankful for you and your family. And what I mean by that, I mean you and Rhonda's family. Because when we lived in Virginia, y'all was just super duper supportive of us. I mean, just across the board, I could write a book on how wonderful your family was with us, especially your dad. Baba Varna was. I feel really bad because when me and Yetunde eloped, he came to me and he said he was disappointed because he wanted to marry us. And we had planned on having him do our 10th anniversary, but unfortunately he transitioned. So I'm forever grateful. He's been nothing but wonderful to me and my family. And I don't think like we would be as successful as we are if it wasn't for you and your family. So I just want to give y'all a shout out because y'all was just super duper supportive back. Like we were a young family. We didn't have any blood family in the area, and y'all was just always there for us on every conceivable level. So I know I always say that, but I just want to continue to say that I'm eternally grateful for that. And that's like a debt I can never pay. Now going into the worst, I think for me, probably the worst experience is when Xavier had cancer. That was probably the worst experience that I had as a parent. Because what ends up happening is you feel helpless. There's absolutely nothing you can do. Like there's nothing you could do. You can't, like nothing. Like you can't. You wish you could transfer the pain. You wish you could like fast forward the chemo, on and on. But there's a lot of sleepless nights. A lot of nights that I cried. Even though the diagnosis was very positive. The doctors were like, he's going to be good. It's better when it happens when he's young. But it was a tough time, one that I try not to recollect because it's just a lot. It was a lot. That's probably one of the worst. But I don't even wish I'm my worst enemy,
Wow. Crumb, what's been one of the most challenging times you've had, sir?
Man, dealing with these Tamahu. Now keep in mind, I don't rely on nobody to teach my baby. Anybody who passes the buck and allows somebody else to teach your children has made a critical mistake. Number one. So my kid's mom, she's not into that. She's a really pacifist person. If someone else can do for her what she can do for herself, she will allow them to do it. And I'm just not that type of person. So I take my child's education into my hands. I don't care what they say at that school. I'm going to tell my baby first. Listen, when they ask you to Christopher Columbus, you put what they tell you to put to get the A, but just know it's a bunch of garbage. That's conditioning and indoctrination. So my baby is straight A student, but he know left from right, up from down. He goes to school and takes it with a grain of salt, which I tell him to. So straight A student. Go to the class. This is, what are we doing? Parent-teacher conference. Straight A student now. Okay. So I go to the school. Now, keep in mind, I got a tie on. I got my suspenders on. I'm playing a game for them. So the teacher asked me, she says, what's the relationship between you and your son? Whoa, Kimosabi. I came here to talk to you about my baby's academic growth and development. This ain't no Ayana fix my life and I tell you what. No, you know what? Listen, lady. I'm not going to tolerate that stereotypical, cliche, all black men, whatever, So for me, just dealing with these people and their, racist, stereotypic, cliche, over-the-top ideology of what they expect from us, So just dealing with these schools, man, it's like, for real, I tell you, man, you guys are getting a free check because, I remember, but nonetheless, just dealing with the school. When I was a child, if I got an F, the teacher said, you earned that F. That was you. My son was a straight A student. The teacher's sitting here taking pictures with him, trying to, bank off him. Oh, well, I'm going to take part of that success. No, family. Ooh. The challenge is where the parent gets the credit for being the first teacher, giving the baby right knowledge, helping him or her transverse through this world that is going to smile in your face. But the reality is they see you in a totally different way from what their face portrays. And going in there and dealing with these folks, it's been a ridiculous challenge. Wow. So my baby get an F. Well, back in the day, they put me in SLD classes, slow learning disability. And I remember they just tell me, Crumb, you earned that F. I didn't give it to you. Now my son is straight A student. Look at me. He's a straight A student because I'm a good teacher. I told my son, I said, listen, don't be taking them pictures with them teachers. That teacher asked you for a picture, respectfully decline. Because
that's interesting. I think all of us have had some challenge with the school system. I know I have. My son has always been like the United Nations. You know, he's always had friends from everywhere. All right. And so he had this little clique that he hung with. All of them were, you know, great students. All of them were gifted students. One was Asian. One was Mexican. All right. He was the melanated American, the Black American. I think one was white. There was another one, and I can't remember what his background may have been. But they came up with these little nicknames and they messed around and they just kind of, being friends.
The Motley Crew?
Yeah. So my son was Sir Afro, right? And his friend was Sir Taco, the Mexican cat. And then the Asian cat was something, So they had these little nicknames and they just played around with each other and they were cool. Well, one of them wrote down on a piece of paper all the names. And somehow that piece of paper got into the hands of an administrator and they suspended them all.
Wow.
And so we had to go up there and fight. And, luckily we fought. And, the principal, and I still think she made a poor decision, but she supported her AP because the AP, the assistant principal, suspended them all, was giving them all 2 days for being racially insensitive or something like that, bullying, right? And the principal just kind of helped them reduce it. So my son was in detention he was in detention for 1 day. He was at home for 1 day. He was in detention the next day. And then it was kind of taken off of his record, I think. I think that's what we ended up fighting for. But it just blew my mind that if I didn't fight for that, he would have been home for 2 days.
Yeah.
So I know that we've all had some challenges with the school system.
Right. And, it's a sad reality. And I get that. And I know I kind of, went a little bit left with that. I was just upset, speaking about racially insensitive. How are you going to question me about something that has nothing to do with my child's education? And then, it's overt, I guess they're trying to be covert, but it's overtly, racist almost, or at least prejudice. You're asked, do you ask your white parents that? Your white fathers? And this is for fathers everywhere. I can almost guarantee, even if the woman would have asked the white father that, they would have not asked the mother that. What is your relationship in the child's life? It is automatically assumed that the mother's engaged. But when it comes to the father, there's always going to be a degree of suspicion.
You know what? That's interesting because for years, and I've noticed within the last 2 years, it's kind of tapered off. But, when I first had my son, I used to take my son everywhere. I used to stay with the B-boy battles. I used to have him at DJ parties. I took him some places I probably shouldn't have taken him. But I had my son all the time with me. All right. And so one day I had a picture of my son. And, I met this young lady, and I don't know how we got to the conversation, but they're like, you got kids? I'm like, yeah, here's a picture of my kid. And one of them said, well, are you a daddy or a sperm donor? And then I started noticing on Father's Day, people would say, shout out to the real fathers out there. They were putting up clarifications. You got to meet these criteria before I can shout you out on Father's Day. Now, mind you, I was working in Portsmouth, Virginia at the time, which had the highest kinship rate, which meant that the children lived with kin. They lived with families other than the maternal, father or the mother or the father. Mm-hmm. So they had the highest rate at that time with people living with grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers and sisters. There was kinship. That type of, they had the highest kinship rate. And so I'm working there, and these chicks are asking me, were you a father or a sperm donor? And, I was kind of upset. you know, and I was like, well, are you a good mother? Or have your children been taken from you? You know, I was kind of taken aback, man. You know, are you a good mother or an unfit mother? You know, and so the assumptions, and I realized that unfortunately there's too much truth in the assumption.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That, you know, being an
too much truth in the assumption.
No, being an educator, being a parent. Hold on. Being a parent and say, you know, let a brother know. When you go to the PTA meetings, it's predominantly what?
Mothers,
right? You go. I can count on my fingers. You know, I've been an educator for several years now. I count on my fingers how many of their fathers I know. You know, that I make a point to know. You know, and it's not something that's coming out of the sky. You know what I mean? Again, don't get me wrong. I don't get offended when they say that to me, when they ask questions. But it comes from a place where, you know, unfortunately, that's what they see. That's what they know. I have many students that don't even know who their father is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have many students that'll tell me, you know, I ain't seen my father in X amount of years. You know, so like being a mentor as well. Like, I mentor many kids, and I ain't never seen their father, man. I couldn't even tell you who he looked like, you know. So it doesn't come from a place of, you know, if they're not pulling it out of the air, you know what I mean? So that's all I got to say. I'm not saying it's right. I don't think we should assume, you know what I'm saying? But it doesn't come from, it's not something that's made up.
I agree that there, you know, as I just stated, you know, it's not, it's definitely not something that's just made up, but it also comes from a place of hurt.
Of course.
It comes from a place of hurt.
Of course.
And are you the same type of guy that's hurt me and my family because you weren't there as a father, like my father wasn't there?
True indeed.
You know, I realize it's coming from a place of hurt, and they were passing on that hurt. Okay, so and Crumb, you're like, nah, dude.
No. We are dancing around, passing the buck, and we sitting here. We're gonna put it on everything but what it is. We are dealing with institutional racism. We're dealing with a society that has made it clear that we do not want you around here. Our men know damn well where they are wanted and where they are not wanted. We know even when our people go to apply for these any of these government programs, we can name on 5 hands all the programs surrounding our women. Name me 5 programs surrounded around our fathers. Our fathers have gotten the message loud and clear. In terms of the institution, you are a far second. The system isn't set up for you. Go to that school and find me and tell me, you say, okay, I can't find any black fathers. Fine, you can't find the black fathers. Now tell me, when a black father goes to the school, who's he going to talk to? A white teacher. These white teachers have made it painfully obvious. And yet we may have a small number of male teachers, but you are obviously and painfully in the majority. We have an overwhelming qualified number of black men who are able to teach, but we have been systematically kept out of the system. And not only do we know that, we know where we are not wanted at. And as a father, not only did that one teacher give me disrespect, when I came down to that school and demanded that my baby be put in the gifted class, the program, because my baby was running circles around him. Do you know that the principal got the coach? And I was taken aback because keep in mind, when I go to the school, it's you know, I'm not even wearing a regular tie. I'm wearing bow ties, suspenders, jackets, slacks, these hard bottoms. The principal got the coach. You know, and the principal is standing behind, you know, inside his office. The coach is, you know, standing like he has a cape on him in the threshold, and the principal's kind of, you know, behind the coach saying this and saying that. Family, this is the thing. In business, they tell you if one person complains, there was 10 people that were silent. This is the elephant in the room of how all institutions, not just the educational realm, but all institutions. We're going with education. We're going with public housing. We're going with programs that are supposed to be for the people at large, from the top to the bottom, from left to right. Our men, the melanated men, have gotten the picture loud and clear, and we're going to see the same thing when we have these Salem witch hunts where we're going to go after Bill Cosby. Not saying he's innocent. We're going to go after R. Kelly. Not saying he's innocent, but we're going to see where Harvey Weinstein gets a pass to operate with impunity. And if we want to put this on the men and say this is something emotional versus that we know what these people have given us, it's just like the doll test. Nobody told those little kids, hey, you're black, you're ugly, whatever. A picture's worth 1,000 words. The truth of the elephant being in the room is an unspoken truth, but a truth nonetheless.
You know what? We have 7 minutes left, and I think that's a great number for us to hit to the solutions. So obviously there's a problem here.
Yeah.
All right, and you're pointing towards the correctly noted institutional issues that we face.
Yeah, I mean, white supremacy. I agree with you. White supremacy is an issue, but
right.
I'm only asking the fathers of my students to do their job.
All right, so
that's all I'm asking.
What do they need to do?
No, and I think
hold on, Danny. What do they need to do?
Don't give him a hammer. If he has no hammer, but the expectation is for him to build a house, then at that point, what are we really dealing with? We're dealing with a people who have set our men up for failure. For a man to be a productive citizen or to contribute and to do what he needs to do, he has to have the resources. Not only does he have to have the resources, he has to have the support of the community. Just like you were saying, when we see on Father's Day, the men don't have the support of the community. We don't have the support of the women. Generally speaking,
I get the support of the women, man. Sisters have held me up, man. I mean, my community, the reason why I have my family is because of my community.
That's an individual.
I got access and resources. All I'm asking,
you can always find an exception, but what is the general consensus?
That's all I'm asking.
Go ahead. What are you asking? Because I think you're asking some solution-focused thing.
Yeah, definitely.
The solution is we have to get behind our men, and we can always find an exception. Malcolm X said, when I speak to white people and put them down, they're going to find a Negro to come against me. Yeah, you can find an exception. No worries about that. But when we're dealing with the collective, your exceptions hold no weight. We're dealing with the sun versus a candle. In the collective, we need to have a united effort, not a onesie-twosie where, Michael Jordan got through, Oprah got through. What about the majority? We have no support for our men in terms of the majority, or none.
No, Crumb. I think you're missing my point. The system is against us. White supremacist capitalist patriarchy is the beast that we fighting. I'm not saying it isn't. Right? But all I'm asking is brothers to step up to the plate.
What's the solution?
Hold on.
I didn't miss the point. I got the point. You missed my point.
All I'm asking is when we have PTA meetings, you ask me the brothers to pull up, right? All I'm asking is if
build a house, I have no wood.
Hold on, one at a time.
You can't ask me for something that I don't have.
You do have it, Crumb. You just explained it earlier. Yes, you do have it.
Ask me for something that I don't have it. At that point, now you're being funny. I'm
not trying to be funny. I'm not.
No. You may not be trying to be funny, but we got to deal with the reality. You can't ask a broke man for $1. You can't.
Okay, hold on.
I'm asking a broke man for $1.
All right, so
I'm asking no father for $1.
All right.
Figuratively speaking.
Okay, so we're going to have to wrap up. This is going to have to be another one. Oh, man, I'm loving this. So we're going on our next conversation, how do we fight the institutions that are against us? And then how do we step up?
I'm cool for that.
I like that. I like that. Going out. Last words, Crumb.
Last words. We as men have the world, the odds stacked against us, but there will always be hope. As long as there are brothers like us three here, then there is a protocol for the other men to follow.
Wow, you said that quickly. All right. Dan Trez on me.
I don't know if we're going to meet up again next Sunday or not, but if we don't or we do, happy Father's Day to everyone out there. Even those, and when I say happy Father's Day, I also include the uncles and the grandfathers and the mentors and the coaches and the educators that are out there helping raise our babies.
Okay. You know what? We have 2 minutes left. I think we're going to go ahead and end now. Happy Father's Day in advance. And we will need to get back together because this is important that we both come up with solutions for the institutions that are against us and for ways that we can step up. And I really like the way that Dan said, I just need you to show up. So have you seen any examples of men just showing up? Fathers showing up?
You asking me?
Yes.
Yeah, every day I do. I see, whether I see, for example, we just had 2 tornadoes here in Dayton. Your crew was out there. The Qs are out there. Shout out to the Qs. They were out there raising money, cleaning up neighborhoods and stuff like that. So I can go on and on. What I like too was a lot of businesses, black-owned businesses, they closed for those couple of days, and they instead of being open for business, they accepted donations and supplies, and they distributed out throughout their community. Young Black Professionals, another organization here, same thing. They closed whatever they were doing, and they got together, and they got, they collected supplies and money, and they went and, delivered those supplies personally to people that needed it. So hashtag Dayton Strong. So yes, sir.
All right, hashtag Dayton Strong. I'm here in Virginia Beach, hashtag VB Strong. We just had the...
oh, that's right.
We just had the shooting. Mm-hmm. So with that, I'm going to say we need to have a few more resources. So Dan Trez, because I know you're a resource, one book that deals with fatherhood. We have 30 seconds. One book.
The Will to Change by Dr. Bell Hooks.
You're back on that. The Will to Change by Dr. Bell Hooks.
Yep.
Okay. All right. With that, I'll say stay fly. Stay fly. Stay fly. Stay fly. Stay fly. Stay fly.
The views expressed on the Fly Guy Podcast by the guests of the Fly Guy Podcast are only the views of the guests, unless we say we agree. Unless explicitly stated.
Stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly, stay fly.
Stay conscious. Stay fly.
Good. So why don't we start off with your movement? So Dan Trez, tell us a little bit about your movement. What are you involved in right now, brother?
Where My Killa Tape podcast, about to upload episode 70. And also we have 3 days left to the Mortal Man Kickstarter. Now we already met our goals. We still are taking pre-orders for the book. And the book is about how men deal with, emotions, death, family, mortality. So we'll definitely, if you want the link, I can send you that link. So we have 3 days.
Put that in the show notes. Good stuff. Definitely. All right, Crumb Snatcher, man. What's your movement?
Well, I actually have a podcast going on right now called Snatched. It's everywhere where you can find podcasts. I'm on Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, amongst other plethora of places. Just search Snatched Podcast. And of course, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook under Crumb TV.
All right, good. I'm glad you said that because the Snatch Podcast is a brand new podcast. It looks like you just hit 100 listens. So that's big, man. That's big. It's actually on the Eddye Podcast platform. So I want to thank you for being part of the Eddye Podcast. And I want to shout out my girl Starr from Conveying Culture. We just started her podcast. Hers just launched a few days ago. And so you can find Conveying Culture anywhere you find great podcasts.